And I thought of a really cool idea for a series where I would take a look at like a recent tournament that happened, and I would take a look at all the teams that made it into like Top Cut in day 2. And what I would do is I would see how many teams there were, and I would make a wheel. And what I'm going to do is spin this wheel, and whatever number it ends on, I'm going to go to this team, take the team that did well, right? Copy it, put it in Showdown, and kind of put my own spin on it a little bit. Flesh out the EVs, maybe change a couple of the items. And I feel like this is a great like exercise that people can be doing to familiarize themselves with like brand new teams, brand new archetypes. And I think it's also like an educational resource because it can show people how to put their own spin on things. I think it's one of the questions I get like asked pretty frequently is like, how do you know how to do this? How do you know how to do this? So it's like, I think it's a really cool idea. So let's just get right into the wheel. And I will say, we're gonna be streaming this live on Twitch right now. If we get 2 subs, for every 2 subs, I respin the wheel and we do it all over again. So you guys get bored of a team, you know, you guys have the power to change it. So here we go. We're gonna spin the wheel. Survey says, hopefully we get something good. It's going to be going from 1 to 39. So the lower the number is, the harder it's technically going to be. But lucky number 20 is going to be our first team we're going to be building around. Lucky number 20. So if we pull up the VR standings here, that is Colding Light's team. Actually, Colding Light had a really cool team. I've known Colding Light for years. They've been making some really cool teams. It's a 2-2-2 with Ursa, Dozo. Very, very cool stuff. I took your Specs Flutter Side Spam team used in Lucky's tour and put my own spin out. There you go. That's how you make things work. So again, what we're going to be doing is posting this one into Showdown right here, and let's briefly review like what their team was. I don't know how much I should change it. Maybe I'll leave it up to you guys. I don't really think I should change any of the Pokemon, but I might change like an item, or I don't know if I should change anything, or if I should just flesh out the EVs. What do you guys want to see? Do you guys want me to absolutely change everything, or do you want me to try my best to keep it like exactly the same and just use this as an exercise in showing you guys how to like find EVs for teams based off the tells, right? Because I can definitely do that too. Like I can probably get these EVs almost exactly to what they're supposed to be, just by, you know, the tells that the team has. So for example, like this crest has like Mental Herb, Moonblast. So since it has Moonblast, for example, it's going to have at least 12 points probably in special attack, because that's how much you need to KO Urshi Dark with a Cresselia, right? So it's like, that's how it kind of works. Is there a GC coming up? That's kind of cool. Let's just kind of flesh out this first team and see what we can get done here. So this team uses Rocky Helmet Dondozo with Rock Slide. I really like the Rock Slide here. You say EVs and items and moves. Sorry, what are you saying? Most one Mon, but EVs, items, and moves. I'd like to see you work your magic. Well, that's the thing is like, there's no. If I have to keep these 6, like for example, like I really like Lefty's Dozo. Right? I really like Lefty's Dozo, and I do think that like Earthquake is still really good here. I really do like EQ Dozo next to like Tatsu Crest things, but that's not how this team was submitted, right? So it's like, there has to be something special about why they had Rock Slide. There has to be something special about why they have Rocky Helmet. It's probably made to like be a good pivot in to block Ursh, and then you like Lunar Blessing that away and then go into your Tatsu, right? I'd like to know more about EVs and what goes into choosing an item, and then maybe later start changing teams. Yeah, I think for what we'll do right now is we'll just flesh out the EVs and talk about why they have the moves that they have so we can actually flesh them out correctly. That's probably the right thing to do here. So I really do like this set. And note that it's Oblivious Dozo instead of Unaware. So we're making it so we're unaffected by Intimidate, which is actually really good. That's a big thing for this team. So it means this team can lead Dozo in a lot of really cool situations. The Tatsu is going to be Specs. I really like the Steel Terra Blast Tatsu. Very cool. The reason why you have Sleep Talk here is in case you have to like get Sport or something like that, you can still technically function. This makes this a good pivot for a Moongus on this team. Very, very cool. Mental Herb Crest is very underrated. I really like the Grass Tear here as well, being able to block spores and stuff like that. Cool stuff, like this tech. Sash Pow with Sucker Punch. There's also Haze. This is specifically for the Mirror. I don't know if I'd want to keep this, but like, we'll keep it. You know, you don't really need that much else. You're only ever clicking Ice Spinner with POW anyways, honestly. Choice Band Dragonite. Note that they have the Aerial Ace. I wonder what this is for. It's obviously a stab move, but since this is like a banded Dragonite, you're only ever going to be clicking like E-Speed, Giga Impact, or Stone Edge. So Aerial Ace is fine. And then the Luna is very standard. It's not going to be a sub-Luna. So let's start fleshing out these EVs and kind of thinking about what Pokemon what all this stuff is for. I think the first one is going to be Dozo. What are we actually going to be using Dozo for? Let's talk about it. Let's go back into the same tournament usage stats here and take a look kind of at what Pokemon were actually even in this tournament. Holy ads, by the way. Victory Road is just full of ads. What do we need Rock Slide for? It's probably for Ogerpon, right? So what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be going into a damage calculator, and we're going to plug in Dondozo. Let's plug in Dondozo for now, and let's plug in Ogerpon. Ogerpon, Hearthflame. Just blank sets. Be sure to set them to doubles. Let's give it Rock Slide here. Where's Rock Slide? Make ourselves an Adamant Nature. And let's see what that +2 gets us right off the rip. So right off the rip, decent damage. How long are you streaming for? Hour and a half? This is a cool extension of your tournament breakdown series. I think it is. Yeah, I think it is. Reviewing tournaments and usage stats are pretty nice. So if we give ourselves full investment, we still can't OHKO an Ogerpon. Which means what we really need to do is make sure that we can 2-hit KO Ogerpon. Or we see what Tatsu this is. This is an order up attack boosting Tatsu. That means this number right here is probably what breaks Ogerpon. Or there might be a weird situation where like POW Wave Crash can still break Ogerpon. But I think this is what we would want to break Ogerpon. And let's think about what a standard Ogerpon set would look like. For on the right here, that's like a 252 Adamant. They sometimes have like 76 points, and then they have like usually about like 156-ish right there. And so you see, we still can't always OHKO it. Is ZA DLC worth it? Hard to say. I didn't really particularly like the ZA DLC, but it's worth it for some people. So that being said, do we think that like this Ogerpon's gonna be super bulky? And is it even possible as well? Let's run the numbers here. 252 Dozo, double speed. It can outspeed Ogerpon sets, right? Ogerpons aren't commonly built full Jolly anymore, and even if they were, let's go back to the Jolly set here, you can't outspeed a full Jolly one. So if you know that they're Adamant, you know that like they're probably going to be like heavy bulk, and I just don't see the Rock Slide having that massive value. But that being said, I do think that it's worth it to go full attack on the Dozo because it's going to give us the highest % chance. Like, again, still taking like a 43% chance to get that KO. It's probably going to be good. So we're going to go full attack on our Dozo here. From there, let's see what the rest of our set needs to look like. We probably do still want heavy speed investment on Dozo, but we're not going to be able to go Jolly, right? I don't think that we ever really want to go Jolly on Dozo. The only thing that you outspeed if you go Jolly on Dozo is things like POW and Flutter. So if you plug in like a Chen POW here, and we give it like a 252 Jolly, right? I don't even actually know if you get it if you go Jolly, but we'll find out. 190. You don't even get it. You don't even get Jolly POW. You can get Adamant POW, which like, I don't think it's worth it to make yourself Jolly to do that. So like, I think what we really need to find out is how much speed we really need. And to do that, we got to think like, what are some common Pokemon that Dozo would like to outspeed? So if we're sorting things by speed on Showdown here, scrolling all the way down, that's probably going to be stuff right around here. Lilligant just top cut the newest VR tour. Let's see how fast Lilligant gets to, which is a 105. 105. And make the Lilligant into a Jollymon. So 172. So what we can do is speed creep things that speed creep that by going 252 Dozo. What we can also do is not particularly care about Lilligant, which I think that, like, honestly, if you're having to 1v1 a Lilligant, they're just going to be paired with Torkoal, so that also is something that means it might not be worth respecting. Let's check out some other speed tiers. These mons aren't that important. These aren't that important. Garchomp's not that important, but Lando is. So, like, what would a timid Lando look like? That'd be 168. So if we can get to 169, nice. Right there, that speed creeps those mons. And the cool thing about something like this is if we go like this, let's go back to our sets, 236, we found like a way to still outspeed most of the things that we want, but we've also found a way to give ourselves like a little bit extra, you know, value in some situations. Probably still best to put the 12 in there, even though we are Rocky Helmet. Now, I don't know if this is how Colding Light actually used this set. They might have made themselves a lot more bulkier and relied solely on the order up. That might be something we have to change after playing a few games, but this is going to be what I test for now because I think that this team does still like an aggressive Dozo, but it could just be like a heavy HP defense Dozo. Hard to say for sure. Tatsu, though, is going to be a little bit different. I think Tatsu on this team is actually built really slow. I think the Tatsu, if we click the button here, it's going to recommend speed, and I don't think you want that. I think this Tatsu, I would not be surprised, since it doesn't have an icy win here. It's a good tell that they're not fast, that this is kind of here to like be played in like a pseudo trick room mode, and I really, really like that. So I think this is probably something just similar to this. This is probably how I would play this Tatsu, maybe just throw those last 4 in defense. I'm curious as to how Colding Light built it. But if you want to see videos of Colding Light play, there's a bunch of videos on my main channel showing that off. I would assume it's something like this, since you don't really need the speed on the Tatsu, and having a secondary Trick Room Mon might actually be a little bit valuable here. So here we go, Mental Herb Crest. So Crests are still usually built heavy HP because their base defenses aren't that much, you know, lower than their base HP. Again, I do think you need at least 12 points here. Is that Rock Slide Dozo? Yeah, it is. 86 months. Holy moly. Yo, that's the first sub. Holy moly. If we get one more, we respin the wheel and, you know, start this whole process all over again. But thank you so much for stopping by, my friend. Yeah, I think Rock Slide is good. I'm curious, like, I know you've used, like, Rock Slide and I think Zen Headbutt before. I don't know if there's any specific calcs you get off Rock Slide at +2. Maybe something at +3 KOs in Sin, but I wouldn't be surprised if you played for, I wouldn't be surprised if like playing for like Bump here was like enough. It might just be enough to play for Bump there, but nah, we're going to go 2v2 to test it. But yeah, Cresselia, heavy HP. This is my personal opinion. When I play Cresselia and I play it next to like either a Chi-Yu or a Pow, I don't want to put all my extra points into defense because, you know, I could pair it next to a Pow and that's really bad. I tend to make my Cresses go the rest in like heavy Spadef. We're going to play till Bump here, and I'm actually not going to take points out for speed. You're at Zen Headbutt back in the day because my team needed something against a Moongus. I think Rock Slide's better. I think Rock Slide's good. Like I said, we're playing to Bump here, which means we're going to try and play to Bump. Let's see if we even can. Right. Oh, come on. What's going on? Come on, Slider. There it is. Right there is the bump. So you see like that extra 8 gives us an extra point from 185 to 187. So that's what we're doing. And we can split this up into 2 sets of 4. I like to play my Cresses with just a smidge of speed, just the smallest little bit. Are the teams for VGC or can it be for ZA2? It's reviewing tournaments from a VGC tournament, so it can't be for ZA. It's all stuff from a VGC tournament. Like, there'd be no way for me to do the ZA one. I don't have the resources. There's no Showdown for that. But yeah, pretty solid Crest set. This still lets you get the KO on Urshi Dark. But solid, right? So this one, Pal's pretty standard. You can just click the button, easy peasy on Pal. Don't really mind this. Good stuff. For Dragonite, Dragonite's a little bit of a weird one. This one doesn't have access to like any sort of speed control, right? So I feel like with Dragonite, you don't need to go to like something like this that would double in like a Tailwind to outspeeding a what is that? Into outspeeding like a Pult, because you can't outspeed Pult. The best that you could probably do with this guy is make sure that you outspeed something like a Goldango that's like a Basemon, so you can rip some damage into it. We also have to think, what is this Stone Edge for? Stone Edge might be there for like Incineroar to play through something. I wonder what the Stone Edge is actually for. Again, if we're taking a look at the usage stats here, Ogerpon is something you can hit with it. Gouging Fire is something you can hit with it. Stone Edge also does not make contact, so it's actually probably to hit Gouging Fire. So if it's to hit Gouging Fire, let's run some calcs here. Yo, how's it going? So we're going to run Dragonite. And good news is we actually know what Gouging Fire's EV spreads are most of the time. So we got Gouging Fire. So Gouging Fires are usually built. So if we have to go 252 with like a 4 minus 164, 84 points is what the number is. Cool, 84. So if we have to put 84 points in HP on this guy, I was almost right. We can see how much damage Stone Edge is really going to do if we're rocking like 252 Adamant Stone Edge. Very, very cool stuff. They should give Dragonite Stone Axe. Alright, so Stone Edge does decent amount. I feel like that should be doing more, but let's plug in the Sword of Ruin Shred. Oh, and my Choice Band. There's the Choice Band, and let's change our ability to Sword of Ruin. that gets the KO, right? I feel like Giga Impact could be stomping. No, I really like the Giga Impact because that's what you use to delete Frigraph. Great question, though. Giga Impact is still very, very important. You use it to break cresses. You use it as a big delete button. There's a lot of Pokemon. Coaching Zap. Coaching Zap's cool. I think Coaching Zap's fun. So yeah, what we want to do is make sure that you can break the gougings with this Dragonite. And the cool thing is we don't actually need to have like this much offense to do it. We can probably take a lot of our points out and make sure that that is all we actually need to KO gouging. Now, let's see what happens if we change it to a different target. Maybe like an Incineroar. Because that could be another Pokemon that like... And the reason why we plugged it in versus gouging is because gouging would have Burning Bulwark. And you don't want to make contact with Burning Bulwark on like a Giga Impact or like a Dragon Attack. Stone Edge doesn't make contact, so it's the perfect move. That's why I assumed that that's what this is for. But let's just plug in an Incineroar here. So against an Incineroar, let's make it, let's just give it like heavy bulk investment. And let's make sure, so like against a heavy bulk invested Incineroar, we still get the KO as well. The Intimidate wouldn't be coming into play because we technically have, I believe, Inner Focus. Yeah, so it's like, I feel like there's not that much else we're really hitting. I'm trying to think of what else you hit. Maybe something that has a weird Terra. It's hard to say, right? You could say it's Ogerpon, but if you can break a Gouging Fire, you can still break an Ogerpon, right? Maybe it's to break other Dragonites. That's also an option. It's not like it's a bad move. I'm curious as to what they have. For now, what I'll do is I'll just run the full attack investment. There might be like a weird crit calc. Love catching the stream. Happy to have you here. I think what I'm going to do for this Dragonite is honestly just run it like very, very basic. Like, I think that this is the most basic way to play this Dragonite and still let it receive the value. We probably should have some speed. Maybe we cut a little bit to have, like, this much speed would outspeed things that have Tailwind calcs to outspeed, like Pals and Flutters. This lets you outspeed things that outspeed Bundle. So that's probably the lowest amount of speed you can put on Dragonite. So I'm going to put one more tick above that. You could also put yourself all the way up here if you wanted to outspeed things that speed creep Pult. That's probably also fine. Let's go with this for now and just leave it at that. Now, Ursaluna, I have a pretty weird spread when I like to play Luna. My Ursaluna spreads tend to look, you know, I think you still want to go 0 speed reduced on this guy, but I don't think you need like full attack. I don't think you need full attack. Give me one sec. I'm going to plug in my Ursaluna spread. And I want to see exactly what it is, if I can find it. This is my favorite Ursaluna spread. So I'm just going to copy it. And I'm going to explain what it does, right? So this spread right here is really, really good into like Urshi Water. You can soak a lot of damage on the defensive side. You end your HP in a correct number to maximize the damage or minimize the damage you take from your Flame Orb, and you have a decent amount of Spadef. You don't need these last 4. There's nothing you can really use them for. So I think this is a pretty decent spread here. And again, all these are great Terras on these guys too. So that is going to be my attempt to make this team work. Hard TR is doable with Dozo. So let's think about what we want to do to stop the TR. Dragonite is really, really good into this. You could just pop the Indity, and then it's up to you to like 1v1 like the hat or anything else. So that's really cool. Let's think about what we're doing here. Can spin her away too. I really like Dragonite off the rip, so I think Dragonite's probably good. I think Dragonite Ursa is actually just fine. Like, what do you really do? Maybe even Dragonite Cress. Ooh, Dragonite Cress looks really good. Let's try Dragonite Cress and go Dozo Tatsu in the back. Here we go. Cool. All right. Helping Hand, Normal Terra, Giga Chad Impact. Oh my gosh. Oh. Fake out? Yeah, fake out D's, bro. Fake out, please. Woo! Someone was asking why you have Giga Chad Impact. That's why you have it. Send out your Torkoal. See what happens, buddy. Amoonguss. Sheesh, bro. Alright, what do I care about here? Last month's Torkoal, by the way. It has to be Torkoal. Don't really care what happens here. So we're better to stick damage on Incin than Amoonguss. And Dragonite stuck there. I love that tech, dude. You can Spore, but I'll just heal, right? Knockoff's fine. Let's see if they Spore here. Awesome. They Spored the correct slots. Now, remember, our Crest... Maybe Crest should be made to outspeed Dragonite, but, like, I can just Lunar. And... I can't use the Giga, but, like, I will wake up before I die. So, like, I'm just gonna full send this. I love when a Giga Impact goes off. Yo, me too, right? So, Lunar, we are awake. You can re-Spore, but Knockoff won't KO my Crest from here, because we already lost our items. You can then Spore here if you want. Goes into Dragonite. Alright, that's fine. Alright, so I can go Helping Hand. Giga Chad Impact once again. So good! Helping Hand. Boom! That's 2. That's 2 of them, bro. Yeet, delete, repeat. Alright, it's better to go Dozo than Tatsu here, in case last mon is Torkoal, so you can Protect, let Dragonite die. There's the Torkoal, just like we said. Protect, let Dragonite potentially die, and just go into Tatsu and Rock Slide out. Easy. So, like, I feel like that was a really good example of, like, all the little things that we kind of talked about going into this team perfectly. Might not even lose the Torkoal, honestly. Like, Dragonite. I think that we break this Torkoal with Rock Slide. It would suck if we didn't, right? That would be really lame. I don't know if it, like, Okos, but it's going to make it so weak that, like, Eruption's not going to do anything. Protect Torkoal, so that means it's probably Charcoal. He might be going for Wisp within Sim, but I don't think we're actually afraid. We're going to flinch anyways. Parting. Don't care. Don't particularly care about Parting Shot. I think the right play might be to just Protect and start low-key waiting out the Sun, and then just go for a Wave Crash and win. If that's how you're going to play it, that's how we're going to play it, you know? Earth Power. Cool. Just don't even deal with the Incin. Get my attack stat back. Eruption does not do it. Protect last turn of Sun, Wave Crash end. Awesome. Good stuff. We got 2 Giga Impact KOs in that game. Dude, it's so good, right? It's so good. That's so good. Cool. Really cool team. So shout out to Colding Light for doing well with the team. But it's time for us to spin the wheel once again. So remember, the way this works is every 2 subs that happen, we spin this wheel that has all 39 of these teams attached to it. And we have to build a team from scratch around the core that is on this one. If we get the same one, we respin. We already got 20. So here we go. Round and round we go. Where it stops... Ooh, 5th. So we're actually going to be taking a look at the 5th place team. So actually one of the better teams in the tournament, so I got a little bit lucky with this one. But let's go into it. So we're going to scroll all the way up and take a look at the 5th place team. This is probably the most standard team in the tournament, I think. This is the Bolt Balance team, I believe. Well, it's not even Bolt Balance, right? I think it's AV Bolt, but it's like more Lando centric, right? So very, very standard. It's going to be Citrus and Sin. It's the aggressive Swords Dance Grassy Glide Ogerpon instead of the redirecting what is it, like Follow Me set. It's going to be the one with Clear Amulet Rilla. So there's a lot of people talking about how like this Clear Amulet Rilla is like changing the game and being like a really good foil to like all the Intimidate spam going around. Because like you also note this Rilla, there's none of like U-turn and stuff like that. So it's actually going to be really aggressive. We're going to talk about that when we build out our EV spreads. Standard Flutter, we're starting to see a lot more Flutters tech in the Thunder Wave here. So you have to hit very specific EV spread thresholds with this thing. But we're going to combine the fact that we have like Protect with a Grassy Terrain and Intimidate to make a really good Flutter set. Standard AV Bolt will flesh this thing out in a little bit. And then Life Orb Blando with Sub. So really, really cool stuff. Let's just get right into this. So the first thing we want to do is build this Incineroar spread. And I think if we're going to be having Taunt Incineroar, we got to think, what is this Incineroar taunting, right? If we're going to plug in Incineroar, let's go to speed and see what are we trying to fake out? What are we trying to taunt? Honestly, Incineroar doesn't need to be like heavy speed, but like there's probably some really like weird things that you wouldn't think that you could taunt that you can. Notably, one thing could be like a bulky Annihilate. Like you can taunt that, right? let's go into the usage stats and see if there's anything worth taunting. I think Tinglu and Dozo are things that are worth taunting. Smeargle is definitely something worth taunting. There was actually like a decent amount of Smeargles in the tournament, being at about a 5% usage rate. Other things that are worth taunting, obviously, you're already faster than things like Porygons and Indides and stuff like that. But you can probably catch a Smeargle, right? So a Smeargle is going to be the speed. So Smeargle, not that one. Well, you might be able to catch some Smeargles, right? So a Smeargle is going to be, if it's like a bulky Smeargle, and it's hard to say if you can catch Smeargle. Smeargle's a little bit too fast, maybe. That's probably not the best idea. The best thing that we can probably do is taunt something that is not running a lot of speed. Maybe like, you can obviously taunt Dozos and Tinglus. I'm trying to think of what else you actually want taunt for that would... Bolt? I guess you could taunt Bolt. That's a great one. That's fair. Bolt's probably the best one. And Bolt is the same base speed as Smeargle, right? So they're both 75. So like most Bolts, this is like sometimes around the speed that this is what would be considered a fast Bolt. So that means we want to make our Incins faster than that. Now this team does technically have +2 speed tiers built into it, being Thunderwave on Flutter. So like it's basically giving your Incineroar a tailwind, right? So that means we want, I think, getting your Incin all the way up, like really quick up here in this area, would be very valuable. This is just my opinion. Also, one cool thing about this Incin, it's not going to be running a lot of attack investment because it only has one attack that actually deals damage. It's meant to fake out, parting shot, pivot, all those things. You want to parting shot first, taunt first, ask questions later, right? So I would not be surprised if this Incineroar was built like this. We're going to end the number in an even number so we can Citrus Berry in case we get like Ruinationed or Super Fanged or something like that. I think as far as the bolts go, I don't even think that a bolt would have like this much speed anymore. Realistically, bolts sometimes get to like here. Other Incins never expect the fast fake out either. Yeah, and another cool thing is like if it's like a Rillaboom that's like a speed, 0 speed reduced Rillaboom, outspeeding those is actually really nice. I think Incin, like this is probably the right spot to go, is the 90 right here. It speed creeps the 0 speed Rillabooms. If they have like a, you know, an item nature, it's even easier to speed creep them. But right here lets you speed creep a lot of different stuff. That being said, if you wanted to taunt Bolt in general, sometimes Bolts like to go like that. So, like, I think that you could even get away with something like a 98. This lets you speed creep like 130s. How many subs do I dono to get a team built for me? Today, we're not doing any sort of, like, dono subs for teams, but if you guys want to see streams like that, we've done them in the past where, like, you know, someone gifts a sub and I build a team for you from scratch. But we're not doing that today. Today we're doing the whole wheel thing where I'm just like spinning and, you know, building the teams based off of like what, you know, we get done. But I do think as far as this Incineroar goes, this is probably more than fast enough. And we'll see if we need more speed at a later date, but I think this is probably fast enough because it also technically could function off of like +1, -1 calcs from the Icy Wind. If we wanted to do something really cool, what we could do is go all the way up to 112, and this would let us outspeed base 100s after the like Flutter Mane thing. So that's actually a really cool tech. Like I really, really like that one. And then we could even do something kind of like this, where we go all the way like right here, and this lets you do the same tech into things like Torns. So I think for what I'm going to test with this team is something like this, and actually just go probably 4. I'm probably more worried about the special defense side since I'm built with an Intimidate and just like this. So I'm going to try this in Sin. Yo, set a sub. Yo, hey, thank you so much, bro. Hey, thank you. I'm going to do my absolute best. And if you want to see a team where we actually, or a stream where we actually like fix teams and stuff like that, I'll try and do something like that this week. I think that'll be a lot of fun. But I think this Incineroar set is going to actually make sense the way that they actually wanted to get done. Worst case scenario, we have too much speed. And the whole point of having this much speed is to do the same sort of things like Icy Wind. I can now Icy Wind parting shot a Torn or its teammate if they're not Covert Cloaked, which is really, really cool. I like that a lot. So let's see if it works out. And then Ogerpon here. We were talking about Ogerpon, right? They usually like to play for bump in this situation, which is, let's set out these level 15. Sorry. It looks like just the Ogerpon was set at level 100. Technically, they still have like a lot of attacks, so like you get your bump right there. But I've been seeing a lot of them play on the upper bump, which is right here. So 236 is right there. As far as speed goes, I've seen Ogerpons really want to outspeed Goldango. You know, Goldango did end up winning the tournament. So it's a pretty important Pokemon to check. And Goldango's most common Terra is water, right? So let's see. Goldango is going to be, let's just plug it in right here. So plugging in a Goldango. And Ogerpon definitely has the skills to outspeed any sort of Goldango set. So like a full speed Dango set would only be 149. So you just have to get to 150. And if you're going to get to 149, like honestly, that's the same as like an Adamant Ursh. You might as well go to like 153, which would be enough to outspeed like modest Lando is 153. So you can go to 154. Or what you could even do is play like a little bit more aggressive end and go to outspeed like Timid Lando. But 154 is probably where I would want to get my Ogerpon, right there. And then from there, you just cut the rest up into this, right? So that's what I would say based off this team. This lets you still speed creep like, oh my gosh. This lets you still speed creep a lot of the right stuff. But I think it definitely works and is a very like usable Ogerpon spread. It's going to be really aggressive. It's going to be really strong. It's going to be bulky enough. It's going to be fast enough to outspeed like Landos. And you don't really see Timid Lando all that often. But that being said, we'll see what happens. Going to this Rillaboom spread, right? Is that what I think? It's a meta team again. Well, we're doing an exercise today where we have to build meta teams. We spin this wheel, and no matter where the wheel lands, we have to build the team that's on the same number from the wheel, right? So it's an exercise in team building. This is a game, right? I did not choose to make this team. I'm just showing you guys how you guys can read the tells off what these teams say that they do with their Terras, with their items, and find the EV spreads based off what the team interaction says to help you guys get better at understanding team previews. So that being said, Clear Amulet Lando, Clear Amulet Rillaboom. Let's try and see how much damage we do with this high horsepower into an Incin, right? So if we know that our Incin's running a lot of speed, and we can assume that a lot of other Incins at the high level are going to be running a lot of speed, let's see how much damage Rillaboom does into an Incineroar. And I think it's probably going to be a combination of something like Incin swaps in on the Woodhammer and then eats the high horsepower and gets KO'd. Can I try an anti-meta exercise? I'm literally doing. You can't please everyone, man. You can't fucking please anyone anymore, right? Holy shit! All right, you know what? I'm just gonna keep doing what we're doing here. All right, I'm gonna go plug in this Incineroar here. You know, we do anti-meta stuff every day. And the reason why I'm so ticked off about that is because you can't play anti-meta unless you know what the meta is. You can't be anti-something unless you understand everything about how the actual thing works in the first place, right? The best anti-meta players that have ever existed have spent so much time like understanding everything and wrapping everything they know around how the meta works, and they choose anti-meta because they feel it gives them a better option than just trying to win speed ties in meta games, right? So anyways, knowing that this is what it is, let's plug in the Woodhammer here, and let's plug in high horsepower. If I can find it, there it is. Let's plug in a grassy terrain. And let's see how much damage we need both of those moves to do into just a full health Incin. I think that's probably fair, right? So let's give ourselves an Adamant Nature because we know we're probably going to need that. And let's see if 252 even gets that. So 62 plus 38. Hey, isn't that crazy how the low roll on that is exactly an Incineroar? That's kind of cool. It's even a point over Incineroar. So like, you know, just covering up for the fact that they probably have like that, you know, there you go. So it's like the low roll on both of those is the KO on the Incin. So that's actually really cool. So that means the Rilla is probably full attack. Full attack Rilla, pretty easy, right? And then how much speed do we need on this guy? How much speed do we need on this thing? So it's hard to say how much speed, because we want to be able to fake out other Rillabooms. Are there any other fake out users we would want to outspeed that we could? I don't know if that's an option. we have the access to this Thunder Wave here. So we could also be thinking, okay, Flutter Mane outspeeds everything. Is there anything that we can Thunder Wave to then KO with Woodhammer that we would not be able to KO with Grassy Glide? And one thing could be like Urshifu. So like an Urshifu Water. You know, so that's going to be, let's just plug in an Urshifu Water here. It's Rapid Strike. All right. Could you outspeed Common Smeargle? Yeah, Rillaboom has like fast enough speed to be able to do that. I'm probably going to. But like a standard Ursh would look something like 223 off Scarf. And then if they are Icy Winded down, they would be obviously like 149. So like Rilla can't hit that unless it loses its nature. So we're not going to do that. So we're going to make it go to a -1. And then like we are, so basically getting that number up to, like, this would let you outspeed that already. And if they were a Jolly Ursh, that would be right here. And then if we're going to do all that, we might as well outspeed right there is probably where I would go on Rilla. Ting-Lu, I mean, it's already fast enough to outspeed Ting-Lu. So I would do something like this, but at the same time, you could outspeed, like we were talking about that Smeargle, which is going to be a 75. It's just that like Smeargle, like 139, so we can go to 140. Can you even get to 140? No, you can't catch him without changing your nature. Heatran is relevant, yeah. I would probably make the Rillaboom if on an aggressive set like this. I would probably make it like right here. We don't want to make it Speed Tire and Sim, but we do want to be fast. And then you just cut this up into HP. Probably 4 there, 68. There we go. And the reason why we put the 4 here is because we have an Intimidate user on the team, right? So I think that's fair. I think it's good. Very, very standard. Yep. So this lets you outspeed like Lando and just pop it, right? Easy peasy. So if you lead Flutter, you can go Icy Wind, Woodhammer, pop. Easy peasy. Now this Flutter spread's going to be probably one of the harder ones. I do think you need to be full speed Flutter. I think the Flutter needs to be full speed. Flutter is the most popular Pokemon in the whole tournament. It's going to be right here. If we take a look at the usage stats, it is in over 50% of the teams, and it retains that same higher than 50% usage rate in both day 1 and day 2. If you actually take a look at all the teams that are in top 8, it's like Flutter, and like Flutter's like the, I have a video coming up on the side channel tomorrow that's going to basically be breaking down a lot of what makes Flutter work. So go check that one out if you've never checked out the side channel. Drop a sub on there. It's basically going to be explaining like why Flutter basically is like the captain of every single one of these teams, and how important it is to, you know, making sure the whole meta works. So that being said, what do we want this Flutter to actually do? This one's double dipping Fairy, and so that when you tell when they have the Fairy double dip, you got to think, what are they KOing with that Moonblast? And the answer is usually going to be Urshifu Rapid Strike. So let's go into the Flutter here. Because if they just plug in like a Moonblast, right? Because you're already going to be outspeeding the Ursh, right? And you may be thinking like, oh, that just breaks it every single time. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, right? They can sometimes go with like a different Terra. Like they might double dip Water or something like that, right? So if they double dip Water and you would like to double dip Fairy, right? You still sometimes want to be able to pop that guy. And you can if you go heavy investment. Booster Speed Icy Wind Taunt has been cooking for me. I mean, I like it too. And so I don't know if you really, I don't like the double dip Flutters as much anymore. I really like the Flutters that are like Water Terra or some sort of defensive Terras. But that being said, I don't think this is going to be a full special attack Flutter. I do not think that at all. Let's think of other Pokemon that you know that you need to break off of a double dip. Maybe like Bolt is one. You can do good damage to Ting-Lu. You can do good damage to other Flutters. I think one thing worth calcing is the Flutter Mirror. So if we plug Flutter, you'd be offensively terastallizing to lose your weakness to Shadow Ball. And what we would probably want to do is see, like, I think most Flutters are like right here. And so that already off the double dip with no investment means you 2-shot their Flutter, which I think that's actually good. We could probably throw an extra 4 points there. I think the Flutter set that I would like to do would probably look something a bit like this. I think it's right I think that is the flutter spread that I end up going with in a lot of situations. It's just a little bit of HP. It's heavy on the defense. And the reason why you want this is so you can just eat POWs. You just don't have to worry about POW. You don't have to worry about the physical hits. You can eat attacks from Ogre Pawn. You pair this with the Intimidate and a little bit of healing from the Rillaboom. Very, very solid stuff. And you make it so if you double dip your Fairy Terra, you can trade with their flutter correctly. I think it's probably pretty fine. This is how I like to run my flutters. I don't know if you guys agree or disagree, but it definitely works for me. And I think it's a solid set. You could put heavy HP investment too, but you do end up like getting pinned by a lot of physical mons that you shouldn't be, I think. It doesn't really help out that much. I think that you're better off just boosting up this defense a little bit. So taking a look at the AV Bolt. I think at least 12 points in there is good. This one has Electro Web though, so it probably wants to actually capitalize on Electro Web. So the way to do that would be to get you right here. This way lets you capitalize and lets you Electro Web like an Urshifu, or something that base 100 and speed creep it again. So like I would speed creep that and I would speed creep that. And so if we're already right here, this lets you function with your Flutter Mane with the Thunder Waves to double to outspeed base 135s. This lets you outspeed bundle off that, right? So this is probably the minimum of what you want to do. And then if this is the minimum, I don't want to speed tie a bunch of other things. I think this is probably the minimum. Do you want to be faster and real with Bolt? I don't think so. I don't think we need to. I don't think that really matters. But I think this is a solid set. I don't think you want to go heavy investment on Raging Bolt either. Probably just right there to make sure you're optimizing for your grassy terrain, right? 224 gets that. And then when I play Bolt, like you can see how this is actually kind of lining up. Like you could just like 252 club out if you wanted, but I don't think you need to. But on like AV Bolts, I think that you're probably right here lets you guarantee your KO on a lot of pesky bonds. So let's plug in Raging Bolt. So plug in the Raging Bolt, plug in Urshifu. And let me know if you guys like these sort of streams where we just kind of shoot the fun stuff and have a good time with you know, VGC running calcs and stuff like that. I feel like there's always stuff that everyone can be learning. So against like an Urshifu, let's plug in Rapid Strike. Not that there's that many, but you don't just want to be dropping games to like Urshifu, like Scarf Urshifu Water, right? So you see how that almost gets the KO? Right there gets the KO on Urshifu Rapid Strike. If they have like a cut up into a 4-4, you need to do a little bit more. Right there. So that will always get the KO right there. 44 points with Modest. You could also, well, you just have to get to 179, right? That's the number. You got to get to 179. So you could just also, you know, plug in a lot of points like that and then use your nature somewhere else if you wanted to as well. I think what I like is there's a couple other things that I definitely want to make sure that I can KO. Let's see. Because, like, I like to go for bump on this guy, I think, in a lot of situations, which is going to be right here. Like, right here is bump. But then I want usually a little bit more. Right? Usually right there. Let's see what happens if I plug in Bolt versus Bolt. And do we have Draco or Dragon Pulse? We have Draco, right? Yes, we have Draco. So let's see what happens when we change Draco in there. So Draco Meteor gets the KO on standard bolts. If I have 116 Modest, we still get that KO. So like, let's say they are Assault Vest. We don't get the KO with Draco. If they're just AV, no investment. It's hard to say exactly what we could be doing here. Yeah, it's a rough one. I'm trying to wonder what I need to make this work. Because, like, I honestly don't mind something like this on AV Bolt. This is kind of where I would go if I were to play this mon. But I feel like this is leaving a lot of points on the table. Like, you probably only need about, like, this much. Or, like, you want a lot more. But I really am comfortable with this amount. I think one thing that I really liked is going back to the Urshifu. Right, going back to that Urshifu. What I really liked is that Thunderclap just absolutely pops it, right? And And it makes sure that like it pops it like no matter what. Like they could have like a bulky spread. I think they could also even in some situations have like a light screen or something up, and you're still gonna stick like really good damage. Like Electro plus Thunderclap would do it, right? One of, if not my favorite console. Well, happy to hear you like it. I'm gonna try this for the game that I play, and we're gonna see if it works. But it might have too much special attack. That's definitely an option. Life Orb Lando, I'm pretty standard when it comes to Landos, especially the ones that have sub. I really think the value in sub is being able to use sub as fast as possible. So I don't ever want to lose a Lando speed tie, and I would always like to be able to get my sub up, get the sub up, ask questions later. So I fill my Landos like these. Very solid, like very standard, not going to mess around. I don't think we need the bulk. I think Modest Lando is probably the way that a lot of people play it, but I don't want to ever have to deal with like a Sash Ursh ever. Like I don't want to use like a Modest Lando and have like a timid Sash Urshy water just ruin my life. Not having that. Same thing goes for like I don't want a timid Chi-Yu to come in and just like rock me, right? I want to outspeed those because I have a higher base speed. So that is what I would do with this team. And let's see. So Marco Silva's team did not have Protect on the Flutter. So if we can bully the Flutter out of the game, I think we win. And so we have to find the line that bullies the Flutter out of the game. I think that Rillaboom is very good at that. And I like my Flutter, but I want Flutter in the third spot for me. So if I go with Flutter and Incin, I should be able to fake out their fake out user and one-shot their Flutter with a Wood Hammer. And then bring out my Flutter in the mid. And then I want to bring Lando, but it's probably wrong. It's fine. First time playing this team. You say there were like 8 people on this team. I believe it. So that's the exact lead that we thought we would see here, right? Isn't that kind of crazy how that works? That's the exact lead that we thought we were going to see. We're going to Wood Hammer here. I don't think they pop me. And you can Spiky Shield, but I don't care. Spiky Shield's fine. Doing my job. Dumped. Taunt these, bro. Easy. And I have a whole video coming out tomorrow on YouTube that's going to break down like how if you can break the Flutter, you can break the game. I think it's super good, super important. I'm probably going to pivot out here for Lando. If you read that and pin me, I think that's fine. Do I want to do that? I could also just double into your Bolt right now. I think I'm going to Wood Hammer here and actually Floorboot's there. I don't need any of these mons. Yeah, I'm not going to lose my lineup for that. I'll just get a free Citrus proc. Soak the damage, break the wrist, walk away. I'm doing this, makes me take less damage on my Rillaboom. Let's see. You'll do the build for Mega Sceptile when you announce the news of Ranked Battle Season 5? I haven't seen anything regarding that stuff. I'm just playing VGC. I have not seen anything regarding any sort of, like, Season 5 rules, Mega Sceptile, anything like that. So Lando's right here. Now this is where I can pivot out the Incin for Lando and have a lot of value. And I'm probably just going to high horsepower here. And I could probably even pivot out my Rilla for Flutter if I wanted. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? You're going to go Sludge Bomb, Thunderclap, right? So I'm going to pivot Lando there. And just lose the Incin and keep your Lando honest from a sub. Protect's fine. Don't care what you do. Snarl is good into my Lando. But I think that I'm good here. Snarl does go through sub. That's a problem. Let's see. 2 turns on grassy terrain. I'll save my Incin. Having a fake out pin into an AV Bolt is very good. If we go take a look at Marco's team, that's going to be right here. And so it's really valuable to like understand like what people are using and like understand what you need to do to beat it. So Marco's team is right here. So it's AV Bolt. It looks like they might have changed it. Because like they were snarling me instead of Electro, which I didn't think they had. That's why I thought that was a safe pivot. Steel Lando is very solid. Again, we're not really carrying that much. They are faster than my Lando, so that's a full speed Lando on their side. Dragon Pulse is good, where that's a plus 1% over here. That's a plus 1 and done %. So I can just high horsepower that thing if I want. I can fake out it. I think what I will do is Sludge Bomb here and fake out your Lando. I don't think there's a problem with that. It's 2 speed ties they've won. And we got a crit. Cool. That's GG's. Awesome. Team works amazing. Team works perfectly. Really, really cool stuff. Break the flutter, break the wrist, walk away. Right? Break the flutter, walk away. They lose those. They go with that flutter first turn and just easy peasy. Right? The flutters don't have protect on this team. Right? And so, like, I'm a really, really big believer of, like, when you know that, like, their main Pokemon doesn't have protect, just nuke that thing, bro. Easy peasy. And I really, really like that's what this team with the clear amulet Rillaboom just says. It says, like, you know what? You're not coming in. You're not going to be able to intimidate me to let your flutter live and then do a bunch of damage. Like, you're just done. You're just absolutely done. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. We didn't even need to swap, really, you know? We just soaked damage and, like, piloted the team correctly. Really, really good stuff. I think this team worked great. So let me check something. You guys were talking about new ranked ladder. Is that on Cerebi? Is there ranked ladder season 5 for Pokemon coming out? For Legends EA? I'm looking at this. I'm not seeing anything. Yeah, I haven't seen anything like that. Someone was asking. All right. We're still here. All right, I'm going to play another game with this team because I think it was really good, but we'll see. Maybe we spin the ladder just for funsies because we did get gifted a bunch of subs. This is a Ramparados, right? Are there meta teams that don't involve Bolt? Yeah, there's definitely meta teams that don't involve Bolt. We can talk about those in a sec. So Gastrodon's going to be good. I do think that, like, Flutter Mane is very good into this matchup. It stops a lot of stuff. So I'm going to lead Flutter. And remember, we have the ability to double dip Flutter, Fairy Terra to make sure that, like, jank is not happening. Icy Wind's pretty good. I think that, like, these two are very good together. I'm feeling very comfortable with the Calm Mind, or the Clear Amulet Rillaboom. This is just a game changer completely. I think that Ogerpon is good. I think that I like Landorus quite a bit. And Raging Bolt is usable, but dicey. So I think I'm going to bring Ogerpon instead. Yeah, I don't think you need to use Raging Bolt. I don't. And usually, like, you can tell, I'm not even really using it. It's something that's on my team, but I'm not a big fan of it. So look how good this is. Oh, this is so nice. Stats not dropped. Mon's not hot out here. I wonder if Icy Wind Woodhammer picks up that KO. I think I'm going to Icy Wind and High Horsepower the Incin. Let me think about that. We're faster than they are. I can probably get away with Moonblast, High Horsepower. Huh. Fake out's fine. How do you get your Showdown to look like that? It's an app. I'm not that afraid. Yeah, close combat's no big deal. And now they have a stat drop. So now I know that I probably can get away with, like, Icy Wind plus Woodhammer into that slot. If they want to protect, that's fine. If you type Pokemon Showdown stylish app, you can get your Pokemon Showdown to look like this. Awesome. Flamigo should get KO'd by this Woodhammer. And then worst case scenario, we trade 1 for 1. But the Incin's already at half, and it's going to have to reveal a lot of value. Let's see if it has Citrus. Survey says no Citrus. Awesome. Remember, the Flutter Mane is the thing we're really trying to keep alive. So we can come in with Lando here and pin the Incin, and have Flutter to pin whatever else they have over there. Save our Ogerpon here. There's the Flutter. Awesome. So let's think about what they're going to do in this exact situation. I'm going to Terastallize my Lando. Am I going to Terastallize my Lando? That's a good question. How much damage did that Incin take from Moonblast? 40%? They're at 41. So I could do that and this. And that should get me the safest play. Because even if you Icy One, I still outspeed. There's the double dip. And there's a Shadow Ball we live because we Terrad. Really good stuff. That was a safe play that really, it played around Calm Mind. It played around Thunder Wave. It played around pretty much everything. And now we have the pin. We have the Grassy Glide if we need it. We have the Wood Hammer. I think I'm going to protect with my Flutter for 1 turn and try to cudgel the Flutter. You can go Icy Wind. Nice. Not going to let you do it. Rock Slide, you're scarfed. It's fine. Missed, bro. Gaming. Gaming, bro. Gaming. Even if you KO'd that, I just bring out Lando, and I just go Icy Wind, Earth Power, Sludge Bomb, GG's, right? Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. We take those all the way to the bank. That's what we like to see. Rock Slide can do that. Rock Slide do be doing that. Here we go. Thank you guys for the gifted subs, by the way. Appreciate it. Ziploc Bag, 1869, feeling fine. Thank you for the gifted subs. And we're at number 25. Number 25 is our choice here. So that is going to be right here. This is Patrick Connors. This is NEIC 2024 champion. This is the guy that everyone has a Pelipper from this guy. This is a really cool team. It features Roaring Moon. I actually think this team was a really good call for the tournament. And so I think this was a really, really fun one. If I had to guess, I think that like this team could have won the tournament. They probably just got an unlucky round or had like a miss or a crit or a flinch or something like that. Because I feel like this team should have done really, really good into what ended up in top 8. So very, very solid team. Mystic Water Ursh has the Aqua Jet. The Roaring Moon has the Breaking Swipe Tailwind knockoff. The Breaking Swipe here is such cool tech over Acrobatics, and it's such a good mon. Yeah, I think this is a very good team. And then the Life Orb Lando with like the AoE and the AoE. This is what's really cool about this Dango. There was one. I think the Dango that won the tournament had this exact same set where they double dip their Fairy because they want Fairy to be able to outvalue Bolt, and then they're like, I might as well just throw D-Loom on this thing, and you just pop, right? So it's really cool. You basically tune your Dango to a little mini Flutter. But let's find out the right way to EV train these things, right? So I think with Moon's a pretty easy one. If you want to get a booster into speed, it's pretty easy, right? Oh, defensive Moon's very, very fun. I really like defensive Moon a lot, but that's not how we're going to run this one. So we need to be able to get, right there is the lowest attack investment that we can have. And I don't think we need full attack investment on this thing. We got to think like, what are we hitting with knockoff? What is the thing that we use knockoff on that makes it worth it? Is it for Farigiraf? It's probably for Farigiraf. And if not, like we don't need this. The knockoff is there to knock off like other scarfs. So that means we actually don't need like any attack on this thing. So, and then Roaring Wind has a bloated HP stat, so you don't really need that. And we have an Intimidator, so like realistically, the way that we want to do this is, you find like the right place to put this, right? I would say you could probably put it probably right around there, and you just throw the rest into, I would say Spadef, right? That's how I would make this mon. Just because like you lean a little bit into bulk, right? Just a little bit. And you don't Oko Farigiraf with the knockoff either, right? That's just my opinion. Now, if we had Acrobatics, we'd have a much more aggressive set on our hands, but we don't. So this is how I would run it, and you could say, oh, put those into defense. Your defense is so low. We have an Intimidate user, right? I'd rather just put the little bit extra points into Spadef and make this guy just kind of fat. So, like, you are not breaking me on the special side. That's the whole idea. And we have Breaking Swipe as well, so we don't need more investment on defense. We can get that deep. We can make you weak, bro. But on the Spadef side, we're good. Really, really cool stuff. Dango. Dango's a bit weird. If we click the button, it gives us this set right here. And I like this set because it lets you speed tie this set. Now, so that's the thing. Like on these specs Dango sets, I let it rip, bro. I let these things fly. I love fast Dango. I think it's really, really underrated. It outspeeds enough stuff. And people never really expect it. When the Dango outspeeds, they're like, when you win the speed tie versus the Ursh, that's just game, right? But when they outspeed the Ogre Pawns and the other things like that, like the Adam and Ogre Pawns, they never see that coming. So I'm a big fan of full speed Dango, pretty easy. Ursh, again, we're sashed. So sash Ursh, right? Some people like to run sash Ursh like this. I like to run my sash Urshes with speed because I want to make sure that I'm outspeeding like the right things. This is a pretty easy team if you can't tell, but there's a lot of trading involved, right? So I think that like this Ursh, I like to still run like full speed. Now, one reason that would make me, one of the reasons why I think full speed is value here is because we have Poison Terror. If we were double dipping water, I'd want that Adamant with my Mystic Water. But that being said, I think that like, I think I like full speed. Actually, let me think about this. Because like there's a couple ways to do this. Because for some reason I thought it was sashed. Right? Mystic Water. What are we getting off Mystic Water? Oh, this will probably be in Champions, yeah. Let's plug in Ursh. Let's run some Calxer with Ursh. Let's plug in some Mystic Water Ursh sets. Okay. Feel you don't need max attack. You definitely don't. You definitely do not. So first thing you want to plug in is Landorus. So Landorus is the first thing you always want to calc for with this one. So Surging Strikes, and we'll run Aqua Jet just to show. Right, so we always OHKO a Lando, right? Always. That's always a thing that happens. Let's see what happens if they go to a Terra, though. Let's see if they go to, like, a Steel Terra. Do we always KO them if they steal? Can we steal the KO if they do that? Maybe. If we high roll. Let's see CC here. Let's just plug in CC. Alright, so Close Combat always gets that KO if they're stealed. I don't want to go that aggressive, right? So let's find another one. Let's go Shenpao. Shenpao's another thing that, like, Urshifu Water Rapid Strike is, like, really, really good into. So Shenpao's always get... This is totally a full attack one. It's a full attack. It has to be. I think it is. I think that these are good numbers. Being able to OHKO the land with the Close Combat and the POW with the Surging on the low roll, that's worth, right? I think it's full attack. And so, like, if that's the case, you know, you just go your spread like this, easy peasy, right? I think it is. I think it is. I don't think this team has, like, the bulk to, like, trade correctly. But, hey, we'll see what happens. Incineroar, Citrus, right? So since it's Citrus, the teller that this thing doesn't have a lot... Well, the teller that this one isn't one of those full speed ones is that you have 2 attacks here. And if you want your Incins to KO Rillabooms, right, you need to have a little bit of attack investment. And so it's a good tell that they have some attack investment when they have both Flare Blitz and Knockoff. If I can type. So we're going to plug in like a Rillaboom. And let's give ourselves like a 252 and just plug in Flare Blitz here. So you can see Flare Blitz does not KO Rillaboom, like at all, even a little bit, right? But if we get ourselves Adamant, like that does a lot, and it makes up for the fact that like we could also get Intimidated, and that's still like a guaranteed 3-shot in a lot of situations. So I like those sets in some situations, but I think like another thing with Incineroar, let's see. Usually that's the number that I like, but I'm going to see if I can get away with something else. Let's go with Moongus here. Plug in a Moongus. See if I can like 2-shot a Moongus on a pivot in, right? So right there is a guaranteed 2-ko on a Moongus for like Rocky Helmet Moonguses if they don't have any defense investment, or like just a Moongus like their full like HP Spadef, that still get the KO. Had a Kill spread early on. They'll have 2-2 Surging Strikes and an OHKO Batibo. That's actually really cool, yeah. So I think that it's probably around there for the Incin. It's 116 Adamant. And then from there, I think you probably need... You don't have a ton of speed control. You have Tailwind right here. So, like, you can maximize that Tailwind. This would let you outspeed Genies like Landorus here. So that means we just put the rest of the points wherever we want. 2v2 will let us optimize our health for the Citrus Berry, and we can just put the rest of our points, I would say, in Spadef to let you better eat... like Moonblasts and the like and stuff like that. So pretty standard in Senset right there. Very fast though. Landorus, Life Orb. We talked about this. I'm a big fan of saying my Lando goes first, ask questions later, just like the Dango. And then the Ogerpon here. Ogerpon's a bit weird. We got to think like, what is Ogerpon's job in this team? What Pokemon gives our team a lot of problems, right? And it's going to be a Horn Leech one, not like a Grassy Glide one or anything like weird like that, or a Wood Hammer one. So it's probably just playing very reserved, right? So it's probably just playing till bump right there, because that's all you really need to still OHKO, you know, Urshfus and other weird things like that. And then they're probably rocking all the way up here. Technically, these guys like to get about there. This outspeeds like Modest Dangos and other weird stuff like that. So like 136, we want to outspeed Modest Dango to get to 137. Right? So like right there, I think some people speed creep that and go up to 60, and then you just have extra points. I've seen a lot of people put most of these into defense because you can terrestrialize it to gain the +1 Spadef, and it looks like that. So like this is a pretty common. I don't think you need Impish. I still play for the bump here because I think you want the damage on that Ivy Cudgel. So that's how I would play it. But I think it's pretty standard looking. King Gambit's pretty solid. I don't want to lose to this thing. I don't mind Dango here. I don't mind Ursh either. I think Ursh is actually a pretty good mon to bring into this. I think Ursh is good. I don't think I bring in Sin. I think Ursh and Ogre Pawn look good on paper with like a mid-game Dango. And then I think Roaring Moon is a good mid-game mon here. So you can go Tailwind and make it rain, but like this is not the right board for that, right? You'd have to double dip Fairy, and I think I just get to run into you really hard. Like, I think that Surging Strikes into that, plus Horn Leech into that, let me get what I want. Yep. Cool. Nice. Hopefully it's not Rocky Helmet Dango. Awesome. Right out of range of Citrus, too. I really like that. And then Horn Leech finishes it off. Gives me a good heal. Okay. So that's Terra down on their side. And if they didn't Terrastalize, they would have just lost. So, like, I think in this situation, we would just follow me, and they already Terra'd, so we just close combat the Gambit. Don't need to be weird. Yep. Okay, last mon. Probably Chi-Yu, right? Oh, GG's. Cool. Love that. Snorlax. Okay. How do we want to deal with Snorlax? Goldango's very good in this matchup. The goal here would be to have too much damage for them to deal with. But I do think that they have like a Water Terra on the Sinistcha. So I need to come up with enough stuff to break through that. So like Lando Dango seem really solid here. But at the same time, like, I really like the Dango. And I think I can lead in Sin Dango here. And then like a mid-game of like maybe... I like Ursh, and I'm going to bring my Lando. And I don't know if my Lando is going to be right. Cool, I love this. So you can see they have a faster play here. So like, I don't think there's an issue with like, I kind of want to trick the Lax. But I think I can just rip the Make It Rain and go for the Fake Out into the Lando. Or what we can do is go Fairy Terra, Make It Rain, Fake Out Lax, and not care about the Lando. Marvel Skill Melodic? Melodic's cool, yeah, I like it. Because the Lando's intimidated right now. I don't even need to pop this Terra, but I am going to pop it. Because I'm going to pivot up my Dango next turn, and I want to already be Fairy when I come back in to deal with the Como, right? Stomping's fine. Make It Rain. Oof. Show me that Berry Snorlax, right? And that means he can't be cloaked. Perfecto. Perfect. So Make It Rain plus probably Flare Blitz will get that KO if I want it, or I can just Parting, which I think I will Parting the Lax. Because they're going to be too low to be able to correctly Belly Drum. So Lando's gone. Lax is too low. Parting get a Repin. Probably come in with Ursh. Could be Lando here, though. I like Ursh. If they come in with Sinistcha to get a heal, they can't do it all, right? So they can't both redirect and Trick Room. They'd have to give me their Lax to Trick Room, which they don't want to do. And I'm just going to pivot my Dango back for my Sin and get a Fake Out pin. And if they come in, like... If Sinistcha is good because you can come in and get a Hospitality proc, but at the same time, like, it doesn't really get them everything that they think they want. And if they come in with Hands, I just pivot in Lando, and I think I'm good. Because they probably thought if I had Lando, I would have brought it in right there to block that high horsepower, but I just did not care about a -2 Lax. And I'm doing this to condition them into thinking that I don't have Lando, which I do. So this might force an Iron Hands here. It's either going to be Iron Hands or Sinistcha. I think if they had Sinistcha, they would have already brought it out. Those are my thoughts. Let's go. What you got, buddy? Clef. Weird. Alright. So Clef's fine. I'll rip that Make It Rain into it. Make it rain. We target the lax here. Yep, there it is. Protect. Oh, you protect in front of an Ursh, bro. Crazy. Let's see if you're Rocky Helmet. I don't even know if I really care. I wouldn't have cared. Alright, so I can't stop TR. But I can get ready to do something about it. I mean, it's not like they really get anything done with that Lax either. The Sinistcha is already on the board. Weird they didn't bring Sinistcha out that turn before. That was weird. I think they should have done it. Yeah, I mean, what day is the new season start for ZA? I don't actually know when it starts. So Snorlax is gone. You can get that TR up now, but it won't do you any good. You can get that TR up now, but it won't do you any good. Strength Sap, good play. Too bad I crit all my moves. January 7th. Dude, that's going to be a little bit. Still a lot of time. Still a lot of time. Unique. So first Torn of the night. Gotta watch out for water spout stuff. Roaring Moon is good into that. Let me think though. I think I'm gonna go Roaring Moon, and I'm gonna save the Dango in the back. I like those two with this. And then I still really like Ursh here. Don't think we need Sin in this matchup. Let's see if this works. You can tell I'm not a big guy at using like Roaring Moon and like Mystic Ursh. It's just not really my jam, but this is fine. We're just gonna have to waste our Terra here. I don't know if they have Dazzle. I mean, I guess I could scout for it and go like double protect. It wouldn't be bad, you know. But I think I'm fine to just blow my Terra here and get my Tailwind up and then maybe just cudgel the Flutter. It makes so I don't have to play as reactive. Protect, wow. Tailwind trade. Works for me. I'm going to Spiky Shield here and knock off the Torn. Just play around a little bit. There's the Dazzle! They did have Dazzling Gleam! I did the right play, chat! Look at me! Look at your boy out here! Making the right play! Oh, you ever see something so beautiful in your life when the right plays are made? Oh, that's just beautiful. I love that. Cool. Ooh, crit sucks. Let's see if I crit back. That's no crit, by the way. No crit. That's no crit, Ivy Cudgel. That's like you only need the 76 points. So all we need to do here is just double protect. And then we should be able to... Actually, let me think about that. Because I don't want to get shell smashed. If I get shell smashed, do I lose? I should leverage this advantage while I have it. And Breaking Swipe and Ivy Cudgel. No, we would be Breaking Swiping and Horn Leeching your Blastoise. Because you can do whatever you want. I'm going to weaken your Spout, and I just want some heals. Show me Shell Smash. There it is. Yep. So now you outspeed everything, but you don't break everything here. So let's think about what we need to do in this situation. So at this point, Aqua Jet breaks that. So we need to lose one of our pieces here. We're going to lose the Roaring Moon on purpose to reap him with Ursh. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and retail one in Spiky Shield. I'm loving this, dude. I'm playing really well right now. I think I finally unlocked kind of how this team works. I'm feeling it. I'm leveling up as a player. So we're going to force them to take out our Roaring Moon. We're going to give them the Roaring Moon if they want it. You can go for a second Shell Smash. I can't stop you. It's a cool play. That's why I Tailwind it back. You see how we don't even lose anything there? We forced them to take out the Roaring Moon. If they didn't take out the Roaring... Sorry, if they did take out the Roaring Moon, we would reap him with Ursh and Aqua Jet Mystic Water through into the Ogerpon to get the KO and then 1v1, and they can't hit us with any water attacks. That's so good, right? And so let's go back and see how much damage we did with... How much damage did we do with Breaking Swipe into that Ogerpon? 25%. Yeah, it means we can get the KO again. Get the KO again. Ooh, that's so good, dude. That's so good. This team is so good. Oh, man. Love that. Love that for us. And I really liked about this one is like we're playing a closed sheet. Like I played around the D Gleam. They had the D Gleam. Like sometimes when like you get the mind crush on somebody, it just feels good, you know? Oh man, I had all the tech. Yeah, I think it's just a great game. I played this one really passive. I feel really happy with how that one ended out. Good stuff. Knock off cloak. Get to see all the extra info. If we would have got speed dropped there, that would have sucked. But at the same time, like, yeah, sometimes Showdown games just hit like those. That's a game where like I don't think I would have been able to pilot this team correctly without the amount of like absurd amount of work that I'm doing, like analyzing all the usage stats I've been doing. Like I have a video coming out tomorrow where we're going to be analyzing all of the usage stats for this tour. I've been doing this for all of the Victory Road tours and like kind of just like getting a good understanding of what makes these teams work, what leads to the most optimal ways to do them. And hopefully you guys like this sort of little exercise where we go and we, you know, build a bunch of different teams based off of, you know, what we think they do. I'm going to give you guys all the pace that we worked on today so you guys have them. But yeah, I think this is a really fun exercise. I could do this most days. I'm trying to like come up with different ideas for stuff I want to do for my weekly streams and stuff like that. Because my goal for this year, one of my goals is to stream just a lot more, to be active for a lot longer time. And I think this could just be a good stream idea. You know, people like to have things be mix-ups and other stuff like that. And we can do, you know, if someone, you know, subscribed today and they said they wanted to see me, you know, build teams from scratch. I feel that like when you do stuff like this, it's a lot easier to build teams like from scratch too. So like if we were to take a whole new Reg F team, it would not be super hard to make like quite literally anything work, you know? And if you wanted to make like an Azelf work, you definitely could. If you wanted to make something like an Avalug work or a Baxcalibur work or a Blaziken or a Sui Braviary, there's so many ways to make like any mon work once you learn like the common partners and ways to make it like function without just defaulting to like Incineroar. Because like Pokemon at the end of the day, in my opinion, is like an information game. The players that perform the best are the players that know everything. And I know for me personally, I know like every single move that like every single Pokemon gets. It's ridiculous. You're never gonna pull a that mon gets that move on me. It won't work.